Hello everyone, I'm here today to do a video recommending some books that would be considered autofiction. I feel like autofiction is a very slippery slope, so maybe in some people's definition these ones will not qualify, but I'm taking autofiction to mean something that is very much rooted in real events and real life. But maybe the way that it's written is very literary, or maybe it has a twist that didn't happen, but the rest of the story is very real to the author. Things like that. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm going for, and I wanted to recommend some books based on that definition. I think autofiction is quite a common thing lately. More and more people are going that route, and I think it gives sometimes can give an authenticity to the book that otherwise might not have. So the first book I have here is Who They Was by Gabriel Krause, and I think that's the first time that I consciously read something that was kind of autofiction. This is about the author's life. He is from Polish inheritance, but he lives kind of in the slums of London, and so he has a lot of relation with people from Caribbean ancestry and like what we would call lower classes, and he gets wrapped in a lot of crime. He, like the start of the book, he starts by breaking someone's finger to get their ring off and steal it, and there's a lot of violence like that and a lot of crime in this book that the author did, but he's also very smart, and his family always encourages him to look for more, so he also starts going to university at some point for literature, and at some point he has to stop going for a couple of months because he was caught by the police and he has to spend a couple of months in jail, and after that he kind of realizes that he has to change his ways, but he still has a good his friends are still his friends, and his friends are the people that he committed crimes with, so it's a very difficult feeling for him to try to get out of that without feeling like he's losing everything else as well. It's very well written, it's very true, and I read this in audio, and the audiobook has he reads it himself, so he has all the accents of that part of London, and it just feels really real and very powerful to me, so I would really recommend it. The next one I want to recommend is In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado, which is again kind of like a memory thing of her being in a relationship with another woman who was abusive to her, and kind of trying to break the stigma that there is no abuse because it's a same-sex marriage or same-sex relation. There was a lot of abuse in that relationship, and she goes through all of it, but the thing that sticks to me for this to be autofiction rather than a memoir is because every chapter is told in a different style. So every chapter is like in the dream house if this was a crime novel, in the dream house if this was choose your own story, in a dream house if this was a children's book, and each chapter is like targeted and written in that style, and the story progresses that way and goes in circles a bit because that's how relationships work. They often go in circles, and it tells the story, but in such a new nuanced way and such a interesting way to tell a story that to me that was what makes it stand out, and it's also what makes it autofiction rather than a memoir. The next one I would recommend is Minor Detail by Adania Sibley. Now this probably most people consider it just fiction, but this is about there's two parts of this book. The first part is in 1949, and it's about this girl that was kidnapped by Israeli soldiers and raped many times and eventually killed in the desert. And then the second part is about this woman trying to find out what happened to this other girl, and she becomes obsessed with it, and she makes a lot of research. And what I'm trying to put this in autofiction, although I don't have all the detail, I don't 100% know if it's autofiction. The first part happened in real life. We do know that this girl existed, and it was in the desert and was killed, and all of that happened for real. And the second part kind of almost feels like the author was the one looking at all the details and becoming obsessed with this event. And I mean, the author did research this to write the book, so it kind of feels like it's her. It doesn't, like, the ending is not, it's clearly not her, but the rest of the book, I can feel like it's very, very rooted in real life events. And so that's why I'm putting it autofiction. Probably by many people's definition it's not, but for mine it is. And I think apart from the definition that we give of autofiction, it's a really good book. I think it's very powerful, the way that she's able to transfer this experience of being a Palestinian, and how much Israeli forces control your life, and how much trauma there is historically and currently. So yeah, I really enjoyed this one, and I would recommend to read it. The next one I have to recommend, I have seen it defined as autofiction as well, so I'm gonna go with that, even though it could also be named as fiction, and that's Freshwater by Akweke Emezi. And this book is about this woman trying to struggling with her identity. Basically, she feels like there is a spirit within her, and this is based on Norwegian folklore, in which there is spirits that can take over people, and some of the spirits are gender and some of them are not. And Akweke Emezi is a non-binary person, so I think that even though they were assigned female at birth, then they probably also went through some similar experience. And many people took it as fiction at first, because this is not an idea that is very common in the West. And so that's why it kind of feels like autofiction a little bit. But yeah, it is a very interesting book. I think it is a little bit different, so some readers might not get along with it, because it's a bit out there for Western sensibilities. But I think Akweke Emezi does a really good job at trying to express the feelings and the ideas of having like a different personality inside them, and feeling like their body and their spirit don't match and stuff like that. So yeah, I really recommend that one as well if you're interested in those topics. Then the next one I have to recommend is Homesick by Jennifer Croft. Again, this is about a girl called Amy, that her sister gets sick when they are both young, and so there is like a struggle of her. First they were very close sisters, and then when the sister gets sick, Amy kind of gets like on her own world, and then it follows them coming of age kind of experience. The reason I'm putting this as autofiction is because even though the main character is called Amy and the author is Jennifer Croft, there are a lot of similarities that I could think of. Made me think that this is very similar to Jennifer Croft's lives. I know that Jennifer Croft is both a translator for Polish and Spanish from Argentina, and the character in this book, Amy, has the same career at the end, so it's probably very heavily based on Jennifer Croft's experience, and from what I have read around the writing of this novel, that's the case indeed. So that's why I think it's autofiction. But apart from that, it is a very it's a very quick read. It's written in like small chapters, and it's also very honest, I think, and very it's just very simple in a good way. Like, it doesn't try to make things bigger than they are or more flowery than they are. It's just an honest, raw experience of what it was to have her sister sick and what it did for her personally. The next book that I want to recommend is Osebol by Marit Kapla, and again this could also just be named as non-fiction, because this is different people's opinions about their lives in rural Sweden, and this particular one town, Osebol, and so it's also told in a very small chapter kind of thing, and it is real conversations that the author had with these people. But the reason why I'm saying it's autofiction is because that the way that it's written and constructed, it's very literary, and it's very reminiscent of literary traditions rather than non-fiction. It's not just trying to tell a story, it's not just trying to give you information, it's playing with language and with text and with media. For example, it has, I don't know if you can see, this starts every kind of chapter, and this is kind of like the layout of the town of Osebol, and there is one dot that is darker than the other ones, which is the house that chapter is going to talk about, and then the little extracts of the conversations are from the people that live in that house. And I'm sure that it is, as I said, based on the real life and the real experiences and the real conversations that Marit Kapla had with these people, but of course those conversations are probably a lot longer than what it has here. It's heavily edited in a way that doesn't make it not true, but it makes it very literary. And so yeah, I enjoyed this very, very much. I think it's an amazing way of portraying rural life in a way that I haven't seen before, and it's not just like the mob mentality of towns or the little things. It's really about the politics and the things that go to make life in rural areas harder, and why people are pissed off about the government doing certain things. Why, I mean, things like the kids have to travel to the next village to go to school or to a hospital, how the aging population is especially affected in rural areas, because that's kind of like the kind of people that are left in villages at the moment. All those kind of different aspects of it are represented in this book, and I think it was brilliant. And then the last one that I have here, I am again not 100% sure that it is autofiction, but I think it is, and that's Larger Than an Orange by Lucy Burns. And this is basically about the main character having an abortion, and how like the abortion happens in the very beginning of the book, and then it's kind of her getting to terms to the fact that she had an abortion and what it did to her mentally. Years after, she still thinks about it. This would be the first year of that baby, this would be the second year of that baby. No birthdays celebrated, and that doesn't, it's not like the main character is saying I regret my decision, but it's more like, even though it was the right decision, it was still a difficult decision that left marks down the line. And the reason why I'm saying it's autofiction is because I think the author did have an abortion. In some pages I have seen this is classified as non-fiction, which makes me think that the author had that abortion as well, and there is pictures and stuff of medical records that again she could have made up, but I think they are real, and like echo stuff and things like that. So I think this is based on real life, but it's also very literary. Like, it's again written in this very little section, a lot of these are, and they have a rhythm and they have a way of telling the story that is again about the feelings and the claustrophobic way in which she felt a lot of the time. and it's in a very very aware of form and how that form is going to give the message in a certain way to the reader, rather than just trying to tell the story of abortion and giving facts and things about abortion. So that's why I think this also qualifies as autofiction, and it's just a very powerful book about how abortion can be hard and right at the same time. So those are all my recommendations for now for autofiction books. Let me know what you think about these books, if you have read any of them, if you have any more recommendations of autofiction books, and you think I would like. And I would also like to know what your definition of autofiction is, because I think it's a little bit different from anybody else. So yeah, that's all for me. Until next video, bye!